This poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, has been composed by Robert Frost. Uh, Robert Frost is one of the most important, prominent American poets, and he's a regional poet. That is, he belongs to the region of New England. New England, as you already know, is a collection of colonies. It is six states of United States of America joined together to form New England, which and the area is rich in natural beauty. The area is rich in agricultural production. Therefore, Frost's poetry is replete with the imagery, with nature imagery. Frost composed this poem in 1922, and it is believed that he composed this poem only in one night. Remember that this poem too has an autobiographical touch. It is believed that once he went to the market to earn money to get Christmas gifts for his children. However, he spent the whole day and returned disappointed. And people saw him stopping by, somewhere in a secluded place where he cried. He stopped there to cry. So, uh, and that secluded place was basically a natural place. So it suggests this this brief background suggests that the maybe the poem is actually his own story. It is not uh, a story of an unknown narrator, rather it is the story of Frost himself. So let's move on to the setting. As you can see that the setting is a natural setting with mountains and forests, and the forests are there in the background. Maybe this mountain has a small village as well. However, we are not being told about we are not being given the description of the village. We are just being told that this person, that is the narrator, he stops by the woods. It does not mean that he is inside the dense forest. He is actually somewhere between the forest, the dark forest, and uh, a frozen lake. As you can see that the dark forest is all black in color. Uh, the darkness shows not only the darkness of the night, but it also shows the darkness, or maybe it is indicating the hopelessness that is surrounding Frost at this stage of his life. Then, as you can see in the forefront, uh, that is a foreground, you would find heaps of snow, and these heaps of snow are not actually uh, solid ground. They are actually suggesting a frozen lake which is further being covered by snow, and the poet is enjoying this scene. As you all know that this is basically the Frost is giving the depiction of winter. So the this is the darkest night of winter, as he refers to it in the poem. And how do we know that it is the darkest night? Because as the winter progresses, it reaches its peak. It is the time duration of the day, it decreases, and here the same is happening. The poet says that this is the darkest day or night of winters, suggesting that Christmas is near. Christmas, celebration, the season of celebration is there. You can also find the horse who is trying to look for some food, so in order to, regain his strength against the cold. So this is the scene of the setting of the poem. Now let's move on to the text. This is a 16-line poem. The poem has 16 verses, and these 16 verses have been divided into four sets, that is, four quatrains. Now, here the poet says that whose words these are, I think I know. He thinks that he believes that the forest where he's standing right now, or the brink of the forest where he's standing right now, is belongs to someone, and he knows that someone. He's not a stranger for him. The owner of the woods is not a stranger for him. He says his house is in the village, though. He is not here. The owner of the woods is not here. Rather, his house is in the village, and because of the cold weather and the snowy weather, the owner of the woods is, or maybe, there in his house in order to protect himself against the extreme cold temperature. He will not see me stopping here. He says that that person or the owner of the woods is not going to see that I have stopped here. Why? He says that obviously because of the cold, it is time to hide oneself, it is time to protect oneself. And the same is happening over here. Instead of being in his own woods, the owner is also in his house, which is somewhere near in the village. So he says to watch his woods fill up with snow. It seems as if this is a container, this forest is a container which is filling up with snow, suggesting that the whole forest is covered with snow. Then he moves on to the next stanza. Something brings him out of the magical attraction of the forest, the beauty of the forest, and he's brought into reality by someone. And who is that someone? My little horse. The narrator says that my little horse must think it queer. He must find it strange. Why does it find him strange? Here, remember that the horse has been personified, and what is personification? When an inanimate uh, or a thing which is not human is given human qualities. Here, the horse has been given the quality of thinking. Uh, uh, the thinking of, or the mental the mind of the animals is absolutely confined to the physical desires and requirements. Here we find that the horse is he has a thinking ability. Maybe it is because of the company, maybe it is because of the philosopher, like nature of the influence of the philosopher like nature of the narrator, that the horse is thinking as well. He says that even the horse is going to find it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. He says that the this horse is finding it strange that I have stopped at a place where there is no farmhouse, there is no protection, there is no shelter, and as there is no shelter, it means that it has no provision of food or water as well. Without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake. And right now, I and my companion, my horse, are standing between the woods, the forest, and the frozen lake, and Because it is winter, this winter is also suggesting the cruelty of a winter season, that it has covered each and everything. Same is maybe if you uh, okay, let's move on. You'll find another interpretation at the end. The darkest evening of the year. This is the darkest evening of the year. He's not mentioning the date. Remember that the he is actually referring to solstice. That is, solstice is the date a day when which is the shortest day of the year, and it is estimated it is either 22nd of December or the 23rd of December, and it is nearing the nearing Christmas. So the word darkest can also be referring to the to pessimism that surrounds Frost at that time, or that surrounds the narrator at that time, because maybe there he's left with some task which is yet unaccomplished. He gives his harness bells a shake. Now, here again, he continues the personification of the horse, and here he's not using the term, the pronouns it or its. He says he gives his harness bells a shake. That is, it seems as if the bell uh, that is there in the neck of the horse, around the neck of the horse, it is shaking as if it is bringing the poet back into reality. To ask if there is some mistake, it seems as if the horse. Obviously, he cannot talk in the poet's language, so he's shaking his bell in order to ask, what's wrong? Why are you stopping at a place where there's no food, and at such a place where there is snow all around? The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. Now, again, this is enjambment, where we find that the poet completes the idea, the completes the idea in either the middle of the line or the end of the line. So he says that the right now there are only three sounds around. One of which is the harness bells, the shaking of harness bells. The second one is the sweep of easy wind. That is it's the gentle wind that is blowing. And downy flake. Flake is actually they are the snowflakes, and they are very soft because there is no activity right now. It seems as if the poet is feeling the or listening to the sound of snowflakes falling. Downy is actually the soft feathers which are used to make pillows. It seems as if the soft flakes are attracting the poet towards him, and he's intoxicated by the sound of these uh, you know the he's tempted to sleep because of these soft flakes that are falling from the sky. However, he in the very next stanza, or the last stanza of the poem, he tells you that he gives you the description of the wood again. The woods again. He says the woods are lovely, dark, and deep. Lovely, obviously, they are beautiful. That is why they have the poet is uh, standing there and enjoying the whole scenario. Then dark. Darkness is indicating towards um, the negativity in his life. Maybe he does not have hope anymore. And deep, here he is suggesting that these woods are mysterious, and actually this is the mystery of life. The how can something that is beautiful, something that is tempting. How can it be sinister? How can it be dark? It can only be dark when situation inside or your emotional state, emotional situation is uh, not very sound. You are not, you know, having any hope in your life. He says that though I have a desire to stay here, but I have promises to keep. But I can't stay here for long because I have promises to keep. I have commitments towards my family and my work. So this tells us about the dilemma of urbanization. That even if you like to spend time in nature, you cannot, because your loved ones, your even if you do not have a family, you cannot confine yourselves to the to nature, to the beauties of nature. And you have to fulfill certain responsibilities which can uh, uh, suggest and this suggests that uh, man is actually bound. Nature is free, whereas man is bound. And miles to go before I sleep. He says that I am in such sleepy. Right now, I'm so sleepy that I could sleep here. But still, the distance from my home is so much that cannot sleep here, obviously, because of my surroundings. And he repeats this idea, and miles to go before I sleep. It seems as if these miles, which are physical miles, they are multiplying because of the temptation he has of sleep. And uh, he has to make an intentional effort. He's being forced to go towards his home. Coming to the points for critical appreciation, you would find that the first three quatrains, please, there is a mistake over here. These are not quatrains, they are quatrains, four lined stanzas. The rhyme scheme they are following is AABA, which is the last syllable of the first, second, and fourth lines are rhyming, whereas in the last stanza, all the last syllables they rhyme. The last stanza follows the rhyme scheme of A. Now, the themes of there are many themes that can be revealed in this after a deep analysis of the poem. The first one is fixation with nature. Nature attracts you. Nature, intrigues you. Nature compels you to think. Whereas uh, it is because nature is by nature free. It is independent. It is not depending on any worldly obstructions or obstacles. And the way he wants to stay there and relax, uh, uh, this desire tells us that nature has a healing power. Then sleep is an important theme here. It can be understood by the word downy, which is referring to the feathers that are used uh, for pillows. And even the repetition that occurs in the last line, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. The same idea was there in After Apple Picking as well, if you remember, that the poet told in that poem as well, that his own desires or his own desire for worldly possessions com- they are becoming a dilemma for him, because these responsibilities are um, stopping him um, from going to sleep. So the desire to sleep is there. Maybe it is the desire to sleep, or you can also interpret it in the it is the desire to die, so that he gets rid of the obligations, the constant obligations he's facing in his lifetime, and which are preventing him to sleep, from preventing him from sleeping. So there is a desire for warmth as well. How do we know that there is a desire to have warmth? Because he of the mention of the farmhouse, which cannot be seen anywhere near. If he maybe if he there would be a farmhouse, he would have uh, gone to sleep. And even the reference to the owner of the woods is also suggesting the desire for a warmth, because the owner of the woods is inside his house, and he knows, the poet knows him, that he's in the warmth of his uh, house. Then sleep and death, as discussed earlier. um, a person, a reader questions which sleep it is. Again, you can compare it to after apple picking, where he is himself thinking, speculating of the type of sleep he wants to go through, or the type of sleep he might undergo in the near future, not in the near future, rather after all his commitments are fulfilled. So there is a confusion between sleep and death. Then worldly attractions versus temptation. He is tempted to stay, however, his worldly attractions, the obligations he has towards his family and towards his job, they are attracting him towards themselves, and he's compelled to leave his own temptation, his own likes and dislikes. There again, there is a matter of choice as well. There is the theme of choice. You can compare it with the road not taken. He is again facing a choice, facing two alternatives, whether to stay here and to enjoy himself, and or whether he should move on towards his responsibilities. So again, we find the theme of choice in here in this poem. Then there is a very strong theme of exhaustion, fatigue, monotony, depression. You in the throughout the poem, you are constantly faced with the question if the poet is we all know that he is exhausted, but we cannot find if he is finding you know we cannot find if he himself has opted for all the choices, all the problems, all the dilemmas. So he's exhausted because he himself desires to fulfill all his responsibilities, and these responsibilities are becoming a burden on him, which are preventing him from uh, enjoying his life. Now, let's have a look at the literary devices that have been employed in the poem. First of all, the major and not only the first, rather the major symbol that has been used in this poem is that of the of words. Words are not only symbolic of nature, but they also tell us uh, or they symbolize the unchecked growth in nature. That is, that growth which is not bound by barriers, that growth which is not confined to certain things, which have been restricted. So woods are a positive symbol over here. However, they also remind us of the of Frost's other poem, "The Road Not Taken," in which he says two roads diverged in a yellow wood. uh, these woods are not only independent, but they are serene as well, they are calm as well, they are symbolic of productivity as well. And that is why the poet is attracted towards the woods. Otherwise, he would not have stopped. It is the serenity that compels the poet to stop and have a look at the woods, at the forests. At the forest, though the forest is dark, the woods are dark, yet they are lovely as well. He's using the adjective lovely as well. They seem very beautiful, and this beauty keeps him from going on and moving towards his house, uh, at least for some time. At least for some time. Now, another important literary technique employed by the poet is that of consonance. Consonance is the repetition of sounds uh, in a line, of consonant sounds in a line, not in the start, rather in the middle. So he first of all, you have a look at this the first set: he, his, hardness, ha ha ha. Now this ha ha, a repetition of her sound, is referring to the horse as being personified, as being an animal having humanly qualities, number one. Secondly, there are other incidents of consonants as well, where we find that the S sound has been repeated in different ways. For example, in some words, the S sound, S sound has been repeated, suggesting the importance of sleep in the narrator's life at this present moment. And then there is a z. Now look at this: gives, his, harness, bells, ask, is, some, mistake, sounds, sweep, easy. Now z sound is over here indicating or suggesting it's like a sound, or it is suggesting the sound of wind, which wind is called zephyr, Zephyr. And here we also come to know that among the three sounds that the narrator can hear, this sound of winds is one of them. Then we have a metaphor for of sleep you employed here, and sleep can be interpreted in both ways: the temporary sleep, the ordinary sleep of every day, and it can also be considered as the sleep of death. Maybe he's desiring to get rid of the worldly responsibilities, and he is yearning for a permanent cure of his problems, and the permanent cure of his problems can only be the sleep of death. So that metaphor has been used, and it is being used as a positive metaphor. It is not it here death is not being taken as something cruel. Rather, it the rather sleep, the metaphor of long sleep can be taken as someone as a pacifier. And it is one of the qualities of new English poets that they take death as positive. They take death as a person who or as a thing that can alleviate all the problems in their lives. Then there is a personification of horse as well. The horse, which is actually an animal, he has been personified, and we come to know that some of the the horse over here is using his uh, mind, as if he is telling the poet. He's rather, he's acting as the conscience of the poet, that what is the reason of staying here, why why should he be compelled to stay here, why can't he uh, he move on and have some food according to the need of the time, because at present it is very cold, and the more cold you feel, the more you food you desire or yearn for. Then there is a repetition of this line, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. It seems that this repetition has is suggesting that that miles have multiplied. They have become they have been multiplied by two. They have doubled because of the exhaustion he's feeling right now, because of the burden he's feeling right now. And the burden is not that burden of any outside factor. Rather, it is the burden of his responsibilities which is compelling him to yearn for death. Then we in the conclusion, you can also write that this poem is can be compared to Wordsworth's The Solitary Reaper. As Wordsworth, in his poem, he describes a very beautiful picture of a maiden singing, whereas here we do not find any human being, any presence of human being. The poet, however, or the narrator, however, uh, tells with a sigh, he is sad that he's being compelled to leave, and he cannot continue to spend his time in nature for a long time. So the similarities with you find this at the theme similar to that of the solitary reapers. Okay, see you in the next video. Allah Hafiz. All the best.